Thank you. All right, now it's my pleasure to reintroduce Seth Weissman. He's a good guy. And I just want to explain why he's an ambassador, because I think you've noticed that most ambassadors are women in the C3E program. And it's because Seth is an awesome general counsel at Solar City, and I would say, 85% of your staff, which is huge, are women. And so he's a huge supporter of just what we were talking about, and it's people like Seth that will lead to turning those numbers on their head. So with that, I welcome Seth to introduce the next award. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. I appreciate it. So I'm going to introduce the award winner for entrepreneurship and innovative business models. And that person this year is Erica Mackie. So I had the pleasure of spending, there you are, right over there. I had the pleasure of having dinner last night with Erica and spending a little bit of time getting to know her, which was really a nice thing to be able to do, to introduce someone and have a sense of who they are as a person. So before I tell you about her accomplishments, let me tell you what I can tell you about her as a person. Erica's authentic. I love authentic people. What you see is what you get. She puts it out there, and she's not afraid to tell you what she thinks and what she feels and how she got there. When I asked her a little bit about where she's from, she says, "I'm a woman from the farmlands of Michigan." And she was proud to say it. And when she talks, and she was talking with a younger woman from MIT at the table, and was just giving of herself and her time and her experience. So I'm really thrilled to be able to work with and introduce someone who's going to be, a future leader, a current leader, and who's making a difference. So let me tell you a little bit about what Erica's done to be here today. She is the CEO and co-founder of Grid Alternatives, the nation's largest nonprofit solar installer. She founded the organization in 2001. She's been doing this a while, right? While working as a professional engineer, implementing large-scale renewable energy and energy efficiency projects for the private sector. Her vision: make the benefits of these technologies available to low-income families that need the savings the most, but have the least access. Together in 2004, she launched the Solar Affordable Housing Program, where Grid Alternatives trains and leads teams of job trainees and other community volunteers to install solar electrical systems. Every project generates triple bottom line. Now, that's more than double bottom line, I think, by one.
Our second bottom line is infinite.
Oh, okay, infinite? Okay, I got that wrong. So the triple bottom line for Erica: measurable, long-term financial benefits for low-income families struggling to keep up with monthly expenses, real-world hands-on experience for local workers in the growing field of solar installation, and environmental benefits. Grid Alternatives has installed nearly, get this, 10 megawatts of solar power for over 3,300 low-income families, systems that will generate $91 million worth of long-term savings, $91 million, to spend on basic expenses like food, clothing, housing, education. These projects have also provided over 12,000 individuals with hands-on training and experience in the growing field of solar installation. Grid Alternatives is the only organization of its kind in the country, both in terms of providing solar power specifically to low-income families, and in doing so in a way that lets the broader community directly participate in the process. She's expanding nationwide and told me last night that New York and New Jersey and the tri-state area, in case anyone didn't figure it out, I'm from New Jersey. That's her next place. I am so pleased and so honored to bring up Erica Mackie.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, MIT. Thank you, 3CE and DOE. I said to Seth, talk about what I do so I can talk about inclusion last night. And I don't know, I have 2 little kids, and I'm not sure if you guys remember this book, but there's a book called Are You My Mother? A little bird hatches out of an egg, and it wanders around, it goes to a dog and a cat and a cow and says, are you my mother? And I do feel being in clean tech that, even today, and definitely when I was in engineering school, I was that little bird, sort of wandering around saying, are you my mother? And I'd walk into class on the first day and I'd look for my face in the professor and think, are you my mother? And then I'd start counting the women in the class and I'd count 1, 2, 3, maybe. And I started to develop a theory that the more abstract the subject matter, the more the professor could not make the case that class was related to our connection to each other and our connection to the world, the fewer women there were there. And I don't know, I don't have any data, I'm not an academic, I don't know if that can be backed up, but I do think it's very exciting to be here today to talk about women's presence in clean power and women's presence in clean tech, because I am convinced that the only solution that we can find to climate change is one that must include women, and it must include all of our communities, because otherwise it will not be successful. It'll be the wrong solution. At Grid, our vision is that our power can be produced cleanly, and that the only way to get there is by including inclusive and equitable solutions. And not only equitable solutions just because it will be the key to market transformation, but because that is the only way to do a just solution. And by just, in the US alone, I mean that low-income communities are disproportionately paying for our traditional power generation. And I would contend that they are also disproportionately paying the price of climate change. Where do we put our dirtiest peaker power plants? In poor urban communities. Where do we put coal plants? In poor rural communities. Who pays the price when it gets hotter and hotter and hotter and you can't afford to run your electricity? And who pays the price when you can't rebuild or move when your community floods? It's low-income communities. And so, as Seth said, I founded Grid Alternatives during the California energy crisis in 2001, and I was being flown around the country by my company, saving millions of dollars for multi-million-dollar corporations on their energy costs, and I just couldn't wrap my mind around why is it that multi-million-dollar businesses, who should be saving money, are saving money on their energy choices, and wealthy environmentalists, who should be saving money and should be making environmental choices, are able to do that. But my neighbor in Oakland, who can barely pay her bills and is struggling month to month to hold on to her house, can't have access to this incredible technology. And why is it that her neighborhood is crisscrossed by highways and there's a power plant down the street? And why is it the young person who's standing on the corner, I have photos. Why is it that the young person who's standing on the corner and needs a job can't get that experience to get their first job in solar, where I see solar growing everywhere, and yet those folks were not getting those jobs? And so Grid Alternatives model is very simple. It's not too complex. I didn't invent anything. I just said, if we get all of us together, we can change that. And so we're installing solar electric systems exclusively for low-income families, and we're using a model where Ms. Smith and Mr. Rodriguez all help put in those panels. Bobby, who needs a job, and Susie, who also is interested in installation, can get that hands-on experience to get their first job in solar. And we're putting clean power, one system at a time, in neighborhoods who typically have no access. And so these tangible projects, very simple, allow everyone, regardless of economic status, regardless of gender, regardless of race, to participate in the solution. And I am convinced that's the only way we will really have a solution. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much.